Our final speaker, but not the least, is Dr. Mahdi Qasqas. He is a registered psychologist with a PhD in social work from the University of Calgary in Canada. For many years, he was the only Arabic-speaking Muslim therapist in his locality, where he provided culturally competent evidence-based therapy. He has since supervised many graduate students to help fill the gaps in research practice and, mashallah, let me finish. Fill the gaps in research practice and training of Muslim mental health professionals. Dr. Qasqas.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, I have a problem here because I don't know how to give a presentation, okay? I don't follow a script. I'm a psychologist, I'm a therapist, a helper, khatib, and social. I'm a PhD in social work researcher. Then when you have an Islamic social work conference, then we'll talk social work, okay? Social justice. Oh, sorry, before I say that. I believe in adaptation, right? Adapting to the audience. But this is a very, very diverse audience. So I want to ask you first. I can take multiple approaches. But instead of giving you like 6 or 7, I'm going to use the dichotomous key, okay? It's like an istikhara intervention, either or. Because both is perfect. Would you like me to take a ta'awun or a tanafus approach? Who says ta'awun? Okay, now the ta'awun, let me tell you what that entails. Ta'awun is like validation. I'll validate, mashallah, you've done a wonderful job, everything's great. Tanafus, وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون, is a challenging approach. It's an attacking approach in a kind, respectful way. So which one do you want? Who says ta'awun, kind, loving, calm? Who says a little bit of infusing anxiety, little stress? Uh-oh, is he going to say it? Is he not going to say it? Tapping into the tensions in the room that I know that I see. Because when I read your work, and I've read most of your work, all of it, I could see the ideology come out. So, who wants ta'awun? Who wants tanafus? No, you can't have both. It's like istikhara, either or. Dichotomous key. Tanafus, show of hands. Who wants tanafus? Who wants ta'awun? Who doesn't care? Who's asleep? Okay. So let's have a little fun. But with tanafus, there has to be love for your brother what you love for yourself. So if you love for me, just forgive me if you're offended. And we'll talk about it later, inshallah, for sure. Do you want me to be theoretical or practical? Do you want me to use Islamic evidence, scientific evidence, or experiential evidence? There's no Ya Allah, I'm telling you, dichotomous key, either or. The first step in science is to differentiate one thing from another, either or. It's not multiplexity, Islamic evidence, scientific, or experiential. Experiential, no problem. Last but not least, too late, the Al-Jamhur has spoken. Last but not least, Arabi or English? Show of hands, Arabi or English? عربي. انت الوحيد اللي عربي يعني معقول الجماعه كلهم بس مش حكينا التنافس؟ اوكي طيب بعد اذنك راح يكون في الانجليزي للاسف الشديد. هذا هي الديمقراطيه. The tyranny of the majority. بس بنجيب لك مترجم ان شاء الله. عربي. اوكي. والله هيك حيرتني. خلص عربي. شو رأيكم عربي عادي؟ طب percentage of people in the room that speak Arabic fluently, show of hands. يا سلام. طب والله عن جد عربي. عادة in a khutbah, when I give a khutbah, they're like, أخي, you have to do, there's some people that don't understand Arabic. You have to be English and Arabic. I'll say, okay, what's the percentage? 5%. خلاص. بياخذوا 5% عربي. But this is 50-50. This is a challenge. So Arabic or English? Dr. Rajab? ما تريد؟ I'm seeking for permission for you to say English. Because إذا بلشت أحكي عربي بيطلع الفلاحي وبصير إيش and then Dr. Abu Ras is going to be like, oh فضحنا قدام العالم. Come on, speak a little Madani. Okay. So let's, Dr. Human, English? خلاص English. All right. What's that? Canadian English. So here's the thing. I was going to thank everybody in a very heartwarming way. I even had a story about gratitude and something to do with me taking the wrong passport on the way to the airport and my wife identifying it and all that, but I'm not going to say it, okay? And I'm not going to thank you. None of you. I want to thank those who brought you here. First and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, a lot of times we just say that. And our hearts are full of ghafla. And we forget. Bifadlillah, right? Then, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If it wasn't for the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, would we be here? Would we even be encouraged to do any of this? Would any of our past scholars have had their level of whatever level they have? Third, I look out at the audience. How many of you are parents? Show of hands. Okay. So your spouse is with the kids. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. And I'd like you all to look at the camera and give a nice heart out, shout out to your spouses. Okay? I would never do that because me and my wife are cringy about that stuff, right? But we have these secret messages in the talk and she'll know what it is, right? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Sorry. All right. So I would really, really, really like you, just for a second, to make dua for your spouse. And yeah, I get it. You got in a fight before you came. And you always spend all this time on the community and all of that. But you know what? They compliment you. You compliment them. It is what it is, right? You can move forward. Okay? Now, sometimes we talk about Islamic psychology as though we need the word psychology to do what we do. And we know we don't, okay? We get that. However, if we've chosen to move forward in this field, then there has to be some sort of systematic way of doing it. Otherwise, we have all these concepts. Dr. Muhammad, 6,000 ayat. Any one of them can be an entire dissertation. So, if we have a framework, I mean, can we have a framework where we all agree upon it? We can, right? Okay, let's prove it. Define Islam. Automatically, we have some divergence and convergence. We have a spectrum. And at the end of the day, Islam means peace, right? Yes, of course, yes. No. It could mean peace, but we don't call it peace psychology. We don't call it submission psychology. I mean, after all, it's al-Islam, isn't it? Right? Islamic from the roots to the fruits. Didn't the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam liken us to a date palm tree? There's got to be a model in there somewhere. And again, because you've asked for practical and experiential knowledge, I won't talk about the date palm tree analogy and how you can use that as for a 3D, an integrated Islamic identity development plan. Get it? I-D, 3D. Okay. Spell counseling. 1 L? 2 L's? How about 4 L's? How about a lam? What if we started spelling counseling with a lam? At least that way we wouldn't have that problem, would we? What about 4 lambs? Lens, language, leverage, localization. These are the 4 guiding principles and themes behind the Sunnah-based practice framework. Now, of course, I'm not going to go into full detail into all of them. I just want to provide an indication of credibility. I just want you to walk away saying, you know what? Yeah, maybe, right? maybe that's a reasonable way of looking at it. Starting with lens. And if anybody sleeps, I'll know that I should hurry up, right? So, if you want me to speed up, just pretend like you're falling asleep. You want me to slow down? Don't worry about it, I won't. The Latin term for lens is lentil, right? Anybody know that? Okay, why? Because it looks like a lentil. That's a dal for the Urdu speaking on the right. Adasa. In the Quran, adasa comes once, just once, in this verse. See the connection? أتستبدلون الذي هو أدنى بالذي هو خير? Are you going to replace what's worse with what's better? فضل كلام الله على كلام البشر كفضل الله على البشر. The comparison between the words of Allah and the words of men is the comparison between Allah and men. Is there a comparison? So why would we use anything else? That's the lens. Psychology is just a lens. It can be broken. It can diverge, it can converge, sure, but it's just a lens to understand Kalamullah. And I believe Sheikh Amin is not here. Good. Must be in trouble. He made it clear, didn't he? He said he called it something. Khabar al-Sadiq, right? The people of the past. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What more do we need? When Sheikh Dr. Malik Badri rahmatullahi alayh wrote his book, see the underlying factor there? Partly or totally abandoned by their Western counterparts. Are we really going to pick up their garbage? This is where the social work comes in. Because when I started off in a lot of this stuff, social justice was still optional in psychology. It's why I went to a PhD in social work, not in psychology. And you got to understand, in my province, a master's is the terminal degree to register. So yes, at the end of the day, it is my professional duty to be critical. So how many years later, and there's finally an apology for the racism in the United States against black people, and it changed everything. In fact, it may have even triggered a crisis, according to Kuhn's stages of scientific revolution. That woke you up, didn't it? Oh, sorry, I'm just joking. I'm really trying to impress Dr. Rajab here. Not because I need a job, but because I really want to impress you, because you have better suits than I do. But the whole idea is this. Why do we keep asking ourselves the question, would the predecessors accept Islamic psychology as credible? We need to be asking how many of them would be canceled today. Lipstick on a pig still makes it haram to eat. That's my equivalent of Dr. Malik Badri's painting a deteriorated house. All right? So let's move into it. Language. We have lens. Get the lens? Is the attitude clear? Is it clear where I stand, my positionality, my paradigm? Now it's about language. Take a look at the difference. This is for the Arabic speakers. Can you see a discrepancy between the English translation of "it was just a personal opinion of mine" and "I do not find it to be of any use"? Is there a difference between findings and opinions? Can you turn off the light? Too bad. Do it yourself next time. Can you see it now? Okay, you know what? Don't worry about this point. You can see this the slides later because I don't want to run out of time on this one. There is usually, we already know there's a problem in linguistic translations, right? So the whole idea is we are desperate for dual domain expertise, as I think Dr. Rania was talking about. But we also need methods and models to help transition the dual domain expertise, starting with, in my mind, dynamic bilingualism. Do you notice how when we talk, we don't just speak one language? And I don't mean language switching. I mean, we throw in ta'aruf, we throw in akhlaq, we throw in all these terms, and they mean something in context. And we could talk about discourse analysis, we could talk about semantics, linguistics, all that kind of stuff, and we'll come up with some amazing stuff. But right now, in order for my framework to work, requires dynamic bilingualism, which means a lot. Part of it meaning you're able to say the same thing in multiple languages, yes, of course, but in multiple worldviews as well. In this case, what makes it so cool is you can be very creative and innovative, the halal type of innovative, right? And so in this case, I have the A's of health, well-being, and healing, which is aqidah, a'mal al-qulub, and akhlaq. Now somebody might say, well, aqidah is not spelled with an alif, it's spelled with an ayn. Islam's not spelled with an I, it's spelled with an alif. Dynamic bilingualism, back and forth, okay? Which means your 6 model, Khalid, your 6 model, right? It's called 6, right? But 6, the 6 things you can observe in your ethical framework, 6, sorry. This is why we need the model. You've already clearly said it. But you said that the reason we need an ethical model, oh, by the way, we said tanafus, right? So you're going down. You said that the reason we need an ethical model is because it can harm people, right? But it's haram to harm people. So it's not going to happen. Is that not the equivalent of depression is haram? If you're a Muslim, you won't have it. Okay, fine. Even if it was ya'is, a Muslim can't do haram? Or are you saying you shouldn't do this because of emotional suppression and the toxic positivity and all that stuff, right? So the whole idea is we need to recognize that it's not just about halal and haram. Ya ammi, we are at risk of hypocrisy. There's nothing worse. Dark al-asfali min an-nar. So we need some sort of ethical model to protect ourselves and others. And this is it. Right here. 4 hadith for akhlaq and 1 hadith for nifaq. Akhlaq minus nifaq. Akhlaq bidun nifaq. Does anybody disagree that if you were to follow these 4 principles, you would be engaging in healthy behaviors with others? Now we could spend the whole day explaining each one of them, right? Whoever believes in Allah and the last day, من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. I would love nothing more than to plug something into your brain and just pull out everything that comes up instantly for you. What does that mean, speak good or stay silent? What does it mean when you say, love for your brother or sister what you love for yourself? Or to leave what doesn't concern you? Could it be that competence could have something to do with تركه ما لا يعني? Or فن التغافل as an intervention? And when we say don't get angry, have you ever found yourself, the therapists in the room, boiling and starting to slowly, emotionally losing it in session? You don't think that's a problem? You don't think you get triggered? Now, you cannot simply say to a therapist, don't get angry, or love for them, or that. We break these down into general principles. But what you can say, you can be proscriptive. It's hard to be prescriptive in therapy. This is what to do. But there's definitely a wrong way of doing it. Don't lie. Don't break a promise. Don't break a trust. And if you quarrel, first of all, don't quarrel. But if you do, don't do it wickedly. Can you see this play out in reality? Leverage and localization are the 2 other L's. And how it applies to other things. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I'm going to say that where this shows up in the Sunnah-based practice framework, First of all, it is the sunnah-based practice framework. And you know what I did there? I did something that Dr. Rothman and Dr. Rasul both did. I went and I chose the biggest term possible to take over. What was the approach called? The Islamic psychology approach? And Dr. Rasul, you went with the Tawheed approach? Come on. You just took over Tawheed. By the way, sorry, Dr. Rothman, are we cool? Okay, good. Because me and Dr. Rasul are cool. I know that because we had our creative tension. But the whole idea is, I know I'm saying it's a sunnah-based practice approach, but the primary reason for that is to basically say that it's grounded in the sunnah, okay? And so the methodology used is going to emerge from that directly. It's why we came up with the counseling Sahabi. It's mainly for characteristics of a therapist. Because in my city, in Edmonton, we have Salafis, we have Sufis. And of course there's a divide, obviously, ideological divides, and we don't want to talk about it. Some of you write it and you sneak in some arguments here and there and some attacks. But at the end of the day, we have to have akhlaq. In therapy is different than research. In therapy is different than reality and community leadership. You have so much power over the other person. Plus, they need to be able to know that they're safe with you. Is that what you said, doctor? Safety first, right? Salam first. So imagine somebody does walk in. You need to be able to adapt to them quickly. This is one of the characteristics of Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman.
1 minute.
1 minute, thank you. I will try to wrap up this. But more importantly, Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman was known as an expert in hypocrisy. So anything he did in his life, I think we can do some pretty deep analysis to basically understand what else can we do? What else can we pull out from that? This is where the model comes back again. Pro-akhlaq, anti-nifaq. I would explain this, and I think I should when it comes to our self-care, but that, just think about it. Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman said, I have a sharp tongue on my family. Draw your own conclusions. Last but not least, this is for Dr. Talib. From the lizard's hole to the dragon's den. I mean, we have to challenge, right? We have stakeholders in front of us. I wish the world was a safe and clear and just place. But obviously it's not. And the ICJ and the genocide, that's clear proof that it's not a just world. So what are we going to do about it? Rage is not enough. We have to do action. And in this case, who are the stakeholders? Because at the end of the day, every one of you here knows if you've worked in an institution, at any moment somebody can pull the plug. So you do what you can in the time that you got. But if you were to challenge the stakeholders, if we were to move towards self-regulation, if we were to do everything that this conference dreams of, what guiding principles should we start with? Akhlaq minus nifaq. Dr. Talib, I'd love to show you clearly, but they didn't say evidence-based, they said experiential. But I can show you one by one how everything that we're talking about here, clear from the evidence. And yes, RCT's meta-analysis, I get it. I know you guys don't believe in any other evidence but that, so that's okay, right? But the whole idea, if we decide to go that route, and you know what, Dr. Rothman, actually, I thought about you when I developed this model, the fourth approach.
Can we wrap up, please?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, thank you.
The fourth approach, the convert approach. Because sometimes what happens is we keep arguing, should we assimilate, shouldn't we, and all that. And really, is that the key point? Because you don't move all together. That's why when I read your dissertation, I loved it. I loved the idea that you're starting off with this idea that's unique. When I read Dr. Kashvarzi's book, I read it in one day. I tried to pull a Imam Shafi'i with Imam Malik sort of thing, right? I read his book in one day and met him up the next day. Hey, look at this diagram, whatever. One word, one sentence in his book that really captured me. It said, we own this. And that's where's Sheikh Amin? He's not here. That's where the recolonization thing came in, right? It was a joke, but the whole idea is izzah, right? When I wrote the book, Islamically Modified CBT, I wrote it from a perspective that, okay, my grandparents are CBT, I converted to Islam, I don't change my DNA or my genetics, I still maintain the core features, the fidelity features, but then I'm flexible. And then dynamic bilingualism comes in because I do believe that we need to learn how to better adapt or integrate. It can't just be a basic, shallow way.
Thank you.
Why?
Jazakallah khair.
Because
I'm sorry. We have to stop.
it's just last point, though, no?
One sentence.
Come on. I'm just wrapping up.
Half a sentence.
Sure, I know. But whoever needs to leave, just leave. Whoever wants to leave, wallahi, leave right now, please. But I would like to, I would like to.
What do the...
Tanafus, right? No, I'm gonna wrap up really quickly, though. But on the credibility side, because we said tanafus, come on, if we cannot demonstrate that our models, our research, our practices are credible to our own Muslim community, how are we going to do it to the rest of the world? So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to really bless us. I would have loved to move forward, but you're right. If I keep going on, people will start feeling anxious. And our model is all about salam, ta'aruf, shura, right? Barakallahu feekum. And I don't care if anybody needs questions or wants to challenge, please do. This is the most basic model. If you need somewhere to start, here you go. Here's your AIM model, right?
All right, Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. So thank you very much for all three of you for really highlighting the importance of building and developing an Islamically integrated code of conduct that is rooted in our Sharia. Do we have time for any questions? One question? Are there any other?
This is the developmental model.
Do you have a
Starting with
preference?
ilm.
There's like a few. Let's get Dr. Hamada, because you've already asked Dr. Wahiba. Okay. Oh, goodness.
One thing I wanted to kind of ask is, psychology and psychiatry tends to be really individually focused, and the individual defines kind of the ethical guidelines and where is their ethical issues, is their chief complaint, if you will, with few exceptions. When you do couples therapy, you treat the union as a dyad. When you do family therapy, you might have a systems approach. My question is, how much is the Islamic framed ethics going to go beyond the individual and think about the community or the mesostructures or even the population? And so I would challenge you guys to think about that, not just about the individual as they frame it. So as an example, there's a case example. If you have a malignant narcissist who's coming in because whatever, they're not achieving as much as they want, but they're really hurting a lot of people, is there an ethical duty for the therapist to work on their narcissism, or is that not the chief complaint? So I would kind of challenge you thinking about the individual versus the community, so forth and so on. The second point I want to make is there's a literature on principlism. You mentioned virtue-based versus principle-based ethics. And the literature critiques, and this is really critiquing Big Camp, because all those ethics are from Big Camp. Non-beneficence, benefits, autonomy, and equity. And the issue with principlism is that you can't choose or favor one principle over the other. So even in the case, if you think of it in the medical ethics, the accepted general principle, the most important principle is do no harm. Yet in public health, we have a harm reduction model. In other words, we'll give needles to prevent, we know they're doing harm, or physician-assisted suicide. That's made legal and now ethical. And so how do you reconcile for that? So I'm cautioning you about the principle-based approach to ethics, because how do you favor one principle to the other?
All right. First of all, Mr. Medical Doctor, as psychologists, client always comes first. Always, always, always. Before society, before the profession, before ourselves. Plus, alhamdulillah, we have a amr bil ma'ruf and nahi an al munkar model, right? For psychologists, it's not about do no harm. That's basic, right? For us, it's do no harm and maximize benefit. So when you say about competing principles, client comes first. So one of the core competencies that every psychologist must have is an ethical dilemma model. There's always going to be ethical dilemmas. Where we can definitely benefit in Islamic psychology is understanding when certain principles compete. Like the shuyukh can tell you about when treating OCD. You know when you miss the prayer? Like when you forget how many rakat you prayed? Normally the rule is, right? And then ask the Islamic scholars to talk more about that. This is where I think our principles need to be is تَرْكَهُ مَا لَا يَعْنِي. Leave what doesn't concern you, right? So if the client doesn't mention that they're harm to themselves or harm to others, then why would you be calling the authorities? Even if they did, why would you call the authorities if you weren't guaranteed they were going to get the help they need? Or is it to protect yourself? Because at the end of the day, our ethical code, client comes first. Of course, you have to protect yourself and stuff, but yeah. That's a great question. And when you're so if we establish an actual regulatory body for Islamic psychologists, that's who would have to decide, because every province is going to be different. For example, you said that ethics is the majority of the EPPP, the exam that psychologists write. Yes, ethics has the majority percentage of the exam. In that exam, it says bartering, for example, bartering is totally bad. No, can't do it. In Canada, you can't do it. In the States, it's ill-advised or something like that, right? Now, things get more complicated when you start adding cultural factors. Because right now, the Code of Ethics in Canada, for example, the Canadian Code of Ethics, when it comes to dual role relationships, it not only says that it's preferable and expected in non-dominant communities, for example, immigrant communities, indigenous communities. Now, when you hear that, you think, oh, wicked, it gives us an easier thing. In my mind, I don't know, Dr. Rania, if you would agree or not, it's a neglect of these populations. Like, why is it very clear that dual role relationships are bad when it comes to white people, but when it comes to everybody else, it's okay? And I don't think it's an understanding of our communities. I think it's a way of just saying, yeah, we don't care. But that's the social worker in me. The psychologist in me says, no, the CPA, Code of Ethics, Allahu Akbar, it's great. Hope that answers partially the question.
Jazakallah khairan, Dr. Qasqas. Thank you so much, Dr. Salami. Thank you so much, Dr. Zamzami. And thank you so much, Dr. Mahmoudi, for moderating in an excellent way. We're ending this session for today. We're ending the symposium today. But wait a minute. There are some announcements need to be done before you guys leave. First and foremost, we want to thank, honestly, all the moderators, all the panelists, all the scholars, all the people that are working with the the things behind the scene, all those who are taking photographies, filming, all those who are watching online. There's a lot of people watching online as well. So really, it's been such a joy to be here. I want to specifically thank Sister Sabika for the amazing work you've done, and also Sister Esra. We have some colleagues in ISIB who's been helping out as well. So I know they're watching from the home. So Sister Alia, Sister Mahdi, and Sister Dania, thank you so much for the excellent work you guys are doing, and everybody else. Also to Dr. Human Keshavarzi, and also to Dr. Khaled Al-Zamzami and the rest of the organization team, and of course Dr. Rajab Shenturk for opening up this beautiful University of Hamad bin Khalifa and the College of Islamic Studies for us to have these discussions connected to Islamic psychology. And we do have Adab al-Ikhtilaf. So definitely we will have a round table discussion tomorrow where we're going to reflect upon certain things. And Adab al-Ikhtilaf is part of our journey as people who are interested in this field. Some other things I want to share with you guys. At 6 p.m., there will be an introduction session for the master program in counseling psychology. So for all of you who would like to apply, specifically the Qataris, there's still time for application, if I'm not mistaken. For those who are internationals, it's already done. Sorry? Those who live in, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't say Qatari. Those who live in Qatar, my sincere apologies. There is an introduction session where some of the people who are behind the program will introduce the program, the different modules, the syllabus, etc. So that's at 6 p.m. in this auditorium, or conference room number 1. All right, perfect, thank you. So that's one information. For all of you who are taking the bus back to the hotel, all the scholars and participants and moderators, Sister Sabika will show us the way after the symposium session for today is over. Tomorrow, this bus will start picking us up from the hotel at 7:45, so be there sharp, please, or else you might need to fix your own way here, you know, whether you want to take a taxi or something. And yes, what else? Yes, after the symposium is ending tomorrow, we want all the participants, all the scholars, and all those who moderated different panels to be here, because we're going to have a round table discussion. And according to the vision, as Dr. Human has mentioned to me, the thought is to do some Doha Accord with regard to a couple of questions and what defines Islamic psychology, what would be the scope of Islamic psychology, etc. So we're trying to find a way to have a great discussion and hopefully write some manifest or some ideas and statutes that we can all sign in. So this could be a historical moment. We call it the potential Doha Accord. So this will be after or maybe something else. We'll see. And this is a closed session, by the way, so it's only for those who have an invitation. The participants, the speakers. Yeah, so all the speakers, we really appreciate if you guys stay here after the symposium is over. All right, I think that... And after the public symposium is over. Sorry, I should clarify even more. So after the public symposium is over, then please, all the participants who have been part of the different sessions, please stay here, inshallah. All right, dear brothers and sisters, excellent colleagues, excellent esteemed scholars. I want to end by, if I may, I've written a little poetry here to summarize the discussion here. Can I just wrap it for you guys before we end? Is it okay? All right. Because I was inspired by all the presentations, so I'll try my best. All right. Oh. All right. Are you with me? All right, perfect. Roads are reckless without codes of ethics. We cannot control the session when the soul is digressing. The goal is the essence of therapy. Now remember me. The remedy against maladies of modernity is ethics built upon a natural disposition. Sensitivity, screening, support, safeguard, synthesis, supervision. The 6S is an amana. Escalate from nafs al-amara, lawama, maulana, irada, strengthen the will. New Age spirituality, ecstasy pills. Without tazkiyat an-nafs, you'll be next to be killed if you do not have ethics based upon wahi, sahih. That was a little bit it. I hope that was good. All right, brothers and sisters, we're trying our best to connect, and we will see each other later tomorrow, inshallah. At 8:30, we'll start sharp again. I wish you all a great continuation of your day. And from the behalf of Hamad bin Khalifa University, College of Islamic Studies, the International Association of Islamic Psychology, Khalil Center, and the International Students of Islamic Psychology, we want to thank you all for all of your contributions, all of your excellent questions, and from all the participants. And we'll see each other tomorrow, inshallah. It's been a joy and honor to be with you all, and we wish you all a great continuation of the day. Jazakallah khairan, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mah salama.